Hello once again and welcome back. In this video I'm going to show you on how to return now more information about the pagination, and in this case we're going to set now the helper class that will help with this, and also we have to add now the count method to our iGeneric repository. And I'm going to start by adding now the pagination helper class. I'm going to go into my helpers in here and I'm going to create a new C# class, and I'm going to call this class as pagination. Okay, and this pagination, I want to make this as a generic so we can paginate anything by using this now class. And whenever you want to paginate everything that we'll be having in your application, you can set up this class for the pagination and it will help you with that. I'm going to remove the unnecessary usings on the top, so I'm going to use the quick fix and remove the unnecessary usings. And in here, in order to make this as now a generic, I'm going to say that this is going to take a type of t, and I'm going to say where t is going to be a class. Okay, and after doing this, I'm going to go ahead and add now the required properties that we will need to do the pagination. So I'm going to say plop, and I'm going to start by the page index. I'm going to say page index, and I'm going to get also to add another property for now, the page size, and I'm going to remain this as an integer. I'm going to give this as page size, and again I'm going to add the property for the count, as we're going to see on how to count the results. So I'm going to call this as count. And lastly, we need also the other one for returning the data, and we need to return the list of data, of course. So I'm going to use now the iRead-only list, and I'm going to give it a generic type. So I'm going to say iRead-only list, and it is going to take the generic type, as we're going to paginate anything that we can need here, and I'm going to call this as data. So we are going to also add the constructor for this. So I'm going to go in here and use the quick fix, and I'm going to create now this constructor, and inside the constructor we're going now to pass all the parameters that we will be getting. So I'm going to say int page index, and I'm going to say int for the page size. I'm going to add another integer for count, and also the iRead-only list of type t, and this will be the data. And after setting up this, we are going to initialize now all of these values. So I'm going to say page index is going to be equal to page index from the parameter, and I want to say that page size is going to be equal to the page size from the parameter again, and also the count is going to be equal to the count, and also the data is going to be equal to the data. Okay, after setting up this now pagination helper class, we can also go ahead into our iGeneric repository, and inside here we need to add now another task for helping us to count the results. And I'm going to go ahead and say task, and it will take a type of integer, and I'm going to call this as count async. Okay, and I'm going to pass in I specification in here, and it is going to take a type of t, and I'm going to call this as a spec. All right, here we go. And after doing this, we can go ahead and implement this, and I'm going to go into the generic repository in here, and we're going to use the quick fix. Of course, it is going to bring the error here, so let's wait and see. And I'm going to use the quick fix so as to be able to implement the interface. And when you go down here, you can see that I'm having this count async, and inside this count async, this is now where I'm going to apply the specification, and I'm going to say return await, and I'm going to use the autocomplete, and I'm going to say apply specification, and I'm going to take the spec that we'll be getting from there, and I'm going to say count async, and then we are done. And after creating this, we will need to specify that we are going to count all the results that we are going to be getting from the parameters that we are going to be adding. And whenever you come here, you can see that we were able to get this, but there's no way we can count this result. In this case, we're going to be needing to add another specification that will help us with that, and we'll have to provide all these parameters in here, and it will have to count for the result and with the parameters, and we'll see now the total results after all. So I'm going to go into the specification, and I'm going to say new C# class, and I'm going to call this as now product with filters for count specification. Pretty long name, but I told you that it is better if you understand what you are doing in here. And of course, I'm going to derive from the base specification, and I'm going to provide the type now as the product, okay, like this one, okay. And after this, we're going to add also the constructor. So I'm going to go ahead and create now this constructor, and I'm going to use the quick fix for bringing in the entities, and I'm going to add now the constructor in here, and I'm going to add the constructor, the empty constructor, and I'm going to pass in now the product spec params, and I'm going to say product spec params, and I'm going to call this as now the product params, like this one, okay. And after doing this, as we are going to be using the same behavior like we have here, we can go ahead and copy this from the base up to here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to go down, and I'm going to paste it right there, and I'm going to remove the unnecessary usings on the top. Okay, after doing this, it's now time to go into our product controller and see how we can use now this specification. And inside now the product controller, and instead of returning this as I read only list, I'm going to return the pagination, and I'm going to say pagination, and I'm going to choose this to import the serve. And as we were having now this specification, I'm going to add the other one for counting. So I'm going to say var count count spec, and this is going to be equal to new product with filters for types, filters for count specification. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pass in also the product params, okay. And after passing the product params, I'm going to end the statement, and after that we can go ahead and also, after now getting the products, we can go ahead and say var total items. And in this case, I'm going to say that I'm going to use await, and I'm going to say product repo, and I'm going to say count async, and I'm going to pass in now the count spec. Okay, and also I'm going to say that the data is going to be, and I'm going to copy this from here, I'm going to cut it from there, and I'm going to paste it here, and it will be now the equivalent of the data that we're going to be getting. And don't forget to add the var here, and inside now the okay, I'm going to say new pagination, and I'm going to wrap our result into the pagination class. I'm going to say pagination. And after making this pagination, I'm going to provide now the product return DTO. And after this, I'm going to say that I'm going to provide all of the parameters that we need, and I'm going to say product params dot, and I'm going to say page index. And secondly, we need to say product params dot page size. And also we need to provide the total items, and lastly we need to provide in the data, and then we are done. You have to double check to see if you didn't make any error or a typo, and after that we can go ahead and test if now our functionality is working as expected. So I'm going to go back into here, and I'm going to restart the server and see if now it is working as expected. So and I'm going to go into the API, of course. Once now the server is started, I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to try to get the list of all the products. So whenever I click send, in this case was considered to whenever we are now getting all the list of the product, you can see that we're getting now the pagination information for the page index, for the page size, and for the count. You can see that we're having now the 20 products in total. But whenever we go back, for example, and try to get now this, whenever we go ahead and click send, you can see that also we are getting this as now expected. You can see that we are still getting the count as now 20 because we didn't add any filtering. And you can see that the page size and the page index are provided in here. And whenever you can see that I'm getting the 3 products, of course. And whenever we try to page with the product and blend as now the filter, we can go ahead and see what we will be getting in here. When you go ahead and click on send, you can see that we're getting now the result with now these filters and the sorting added. You can see that now we're getting the count as 1, the page size as 7, and the page index. And this is pretty much of it when it comes to pagination. And let me hope you have seen on how to implement this. Let me know in the comment if you have any problem regarding this. Don't forget to press the like. We will continue by seeing on how to add now the search functionality on our API, and you will see that in the next video. So keep in touch. See you then.